"Can you believe that the day before my brother's wedding, I innocently said, 'Can't wait for tomorrow,' and my aunt absolutely froze in shock, her face draining of all color. It was like I'd just uttered a forbidden curse, and the look she gave me, it still haunts me. I still wonder, was I naive, or was something truly sinister being hidden from me? You tell me, because I honestly still don't know how to feel about any of it. It all started, as most family dramas do, with a seemingly perfect family facade. My brother, Mark, was the golden child, always had been. 4 years my senior, he was the embodiment of success, top grades, prestigious job, charming personality that could disarm a hostile badger. Me, I was the quiet, artistic one, content in my own world of books and sketching, often overshadowed but never resentful. Or so I thought. Our parents adored Mark. He was their pride and joy, the one who would carry on the family name with distinction. My relationship with Mark was complicated. We were brothers, yes, but more like roommates who occasionally shared a meal. There wasn't much animosity, but there wasn't a deep bond either. It was a polite coexistence, punctuated by his occasional condescension and my silent acceptance. Then came Sarah. She entered Mark's life like a whirlwind, all effervescence and bright smiles. She was everything I wasn't: outgoing, social, effortlessly beautiful. Mark, who had dated a string of equally accomplished but somewhat bland women, seemed genuinely smitten. Sarah was a kindergarten teacher, with a laugh that could brighten a room and an infectious optimism. She quickly charmed our entire family, even my reserved mother. I liked Sarah too. She was kind, always had a thoughtful word for me, and seemed to genuinely try to bridge the gap between Mark and me. I remember one evening, she sat with me for an hour, looking through my sketchbook, asking insightful questions about my art, something no one in my family had ever done. It felt nice, genuinely nice, to be seen and appreciated. Mark and Sarah's engagement was announced 6 months after they started dating, and it was a lavish affair. My parents were ecstatic, planning a wedding that would surely be the talk of the town for years. I was happy for them, truly. Sarah deserved all the happiness in the world, and Mark was finally settling down. The wedding preparations were, as expected, a whirlwind. My mother, a meticulous planner, had every detail accounted for. The venue, the catering, the flowers, the guest list, it was all orchestrated with military precision. I was, naturally, relegated to the background, my primary role being to show up and look presentable. I didn't mind. I preferred to observe, to soak in the atmosphere, and to occasionally offer a quiet suggestion if asked. Sarah, however, made an effort to include me. She'd ask my opinion on the floral arrangements or the wedding favors, making me feel like an active participant rather than just a silent observer. It was during one of these planning sessions, a week before the wedding, that I noticed a subtle shift in my Aunt Carol's demeanor. Aunt Carol was my mother's older sister, a woman known for her sharp wit and even sharper tongue, but also for her unwavering loyalty to family. She was usually the life of any family gathering, full of boisterous laughter and scandalous stories. But as the wedding day approached, she became unusually quiet, almost withdrawn. Her usual sparkle was gone, replaced by a nervous energy that she tried, unsuccessfully, to mask with forced smiles. I didn't think much of it at first. Weddings are stressful, and Aunt Carol was heavily involved in helping my mother. Perhaps she was just tired, but then I started noticing little things. She would cut conversation short whenever Sarah's name came up. Her eyes would dart around nervously when Sarah was in the room, as if searching for an escape route. And there was this strange tension between her and my mother, a silent language of glances and half-finished sentences that I couldn't decipher. One afternoon, I walked into the kitchen to find Aunt Carol and my mother whispering intensely. As soon as they saw me, they fell silent, pretending to be busy with something else. It was so obvious, so clumsy, that I immediately knew something was up. My mother quickly changed the subject, asking me about my art, a topic she rarely brought up. Aunt Carol just stared at me with an unreadable expression, a mix of fear and something else I couldn't quite place. It was like a silent alarm bell went off in my head, but I had no idea what it was signaling. The day before the wedding arrived, and the house was a flurry of activity. Relatives had started arriving from out of town. The smell of my mother's famous lasagna filled the air, and the general excitement was palpable. Mark was unusually jovial, walking around with a smug grin, occasionally putting his arm around Sarah, who looked radiant, despite the pre-wedding jitters. I was helping my mother set the table for a small family dinner, a final gathering before the big day. Aunt Carol was there, assisting with the drinks, still quiet, still withdrawn. The atmosphere was festive, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. The air was thick with unspoken words, a subtle undercurrent of tension beneath the joyous surface. I watched Aunt Carol as she moved around the room, her eyes constantly scanning, her shoulders hunched. She looked like a woman carrying a heavy secret. As I placed the last plate on the table, I turned to Aunt Carol, a genuine smile on my face. "Can't wait for tomorrow," I said, my voice light and full of anticipation for the celebration. It was a simple, innocuous statement, a common phrase uttered by anyone looking forward to an event. But the moment the words left my lips, Aunt Carol froze. Her entire body stiffened, like she'd been hit by an invisible force. The glass pitcher of iced tea she was holding tilted precariously in her hand, almost spilling. All the color drained from her face, leaving her with a deathly pallor. Her eyes, wide with a mixture of terror and accusation, fixed on me. It was as if I had just revealed a deep, dark secret, or uttered a prophecy of doom. The room seemed to go silent around us, the laughter and chatter fading into a distant hum. My mother, who was arranging flowers nearby, also stopped, her back to us, but I could feel her attention snap to the interaction. Aunt Carol quickly recovered, or tried to. She let out a short, forced laugh, almost a gasp, and quickly righted the pitcher. "Oh, yes, yes, tomorrow will be lovely." She stammered, her voice thin and reedy, but her eyes still held that haunted look, darting from me to my mother, then back to me. It was a look that screamed, "You don't know what you're saying," or "How could you be so oblivious?" My mother turned around then, a strange, strained smile on her face. "Yes, darling, tomorrow will be wonderful," she said, her voice a little too bright, a little too forced. But her eyes, usually so warm and maternal, held a glint of something I couldn't quite decipher concern. Fear, guilt, the incident, though brief, left me deeply unsettled. It was such a strange reaction to such an innocent statement. I spent the rest of the evening replaying it in my head, trying to make sense of it. Why would "can't wait for tomorrow" trigger such a response? What did it mean? What was I missing? The atmosphere at dinner was thick with forced cheer. Mark and Sarah seemed oblivious, basking in their own pre-wedding glow, but I kept stealing glances at Aunt Carol and my mother. They communicated in hushed tones, quick glances, and pregnant pauses. A silent conversation unfolding right before my eyes that I was not privy to. I tried to catch Aunt Carol's eye, to silently ask what was wrong, but she avoided my gaze, always looking away whenever I turned to her. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots, the whispering, the avoidance, the sudden fear in Aunt Carol's eyes. It all pointed to a secret, a big one. But what secret could possibly be so devastating that it would overshadow my brother's wedding? I went through every possible scenario in my head. Was Mark secretly in love with someone else? Was Sarah hiding a dark past? Was there some long, lost family scandal about to explode? The possibilities were endless and equally terrifying. I considered confronting Aunt Carol, but I didn't know how. What would I even ask? "Why did you look like you'd seen a ghost when I said I was looking forward to the wedding?" It sounded ridiculous, even to me. The next morning, the wedding day, dawned bright and clear. The house was a hive of activity, a whirlwind of hairspray, dresses, and nervous energy. Sarah was upstairs, getting ready with her bridesmaids. Mark was with his groomsmen, no doubt cracking jokes and trying to look nonchalant. I was supposed to be helping with some last-minute errands, but my mind was elsewhere. The incident with Aunt Carol gnawed at me. I felt a sense of dread, a premonition that something was terribly wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So that's the situation I was in, a mix of excitement and deep unease on my brother's wedding day, haunted by an innocent phrase and a chilling reaction. I had to make a choice, ignore my gut feeling and go along with the festivities, or dig deeper and risk uncovering something that could shatter everything. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it go, or would you have pressed for answers, even on such an important day? I decided I couldn't let it go. The knot in my stomach was too tight, the feeling of unease too strong. I knew I risked ruining everything, but I couldn't stand by, feeling like I was walking into a trap. I needed answers. I needed to know what was causing Aunt Carol and my mother to act so strangely. As everyone was getting ready to leave for the church, I found Aunt Carol alone in the living room, nervously adjusting her dress. This was my chance. I walked up to her, my heart pounding in my chest. "Aunt Carol," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "what's going on? Yesterday, when I said can't wait for tomorrow, you looked terrified, and you and Mom have been acting weird for days. Please tell me what's wrong." Aunt Carol visibly flinched. She looked around, as if expecting someone to overhear us, then grabbed my arm and pulled me into a secluded corner of the room, behind a large potted plant. Her eyes were wide with a desperate plea. "You can't say anything," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Not now, not ever. It'll ruin everything. Your mother, she'll never forgive me." "Ruin what?" I pressed, my voice low. "What are you talking about? What's the big secret?" She took a deep, shaky breath, her gaze fixed on something beyond me, as if seeing a ghost. "It's about Sarah," she finally confessed, her voice thick with emotion, "and Mark, but mostly Sarah." My heart dropped. I knew it. I knew something was wrong. "What about them?" I demanded, a cold dread washing over me. She's pregnant," Aunt Carol blurted out, her voice barely a whisper, "and it's not Mark's." The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant and not Mark's, my mind reeled. It couldn't be. Sarah, the sweet, kind, radiant Sarah. It seemed impossible. "What?" I managed to croak out, my voice barely working. "Are you sure? How do you know?" Aunt Carol nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "She told your mother a few weeks ago. She was distraught, said she had a fling with an ex-boy. Ran a couple of months before she and Mark got engaged. She thought she was in the clear, but then she found out. She swore your mother to secrecy. Your mother. She wants to protect Mark, protect the family's reputation. She persuaded Sarah to go through with the wedding, to pretend the baby is Mark's. They were hoping no one would notice, or that they could explain it away as a premature birth." I stood there, stunned, trying to process the enormity of what I had just heard. Sarah, pregnant with another man's baby, about to marry my brother, who was completely oblivious. My mother, the moral compass of our family, orchestrating this elaborate deception. Aunt Carol, tormented by the secret, desperate to keep it hidden, and me, unwittingly stumbling into the middle of it all. "But Mark," I finally managed to say, "he doesn't know." Aunt Carol shook her head. "No, and he can't. Your mother is terrified of what he'll do, how he'll react. He has such a temper when he feels betrayed. She thinks it'll destroy him, destroy the family. But it's a lie." I exclaimed, my voice rising slightly. "He deserves to know the truth. Sarah deserves to tell him." Aunt Carol grabbed my arm again, her grip surprisingly strong. "Please, for your mother's sake, for Mark's sake, don't say anything. Let them have this day. It's too late now. Everything's set. Think of the scandal, the humiliation." I pulled away from her, my mind a chaotic mess of anger, disbelief, and a profound sense of betrayal. Not just by Sarah, but by my own mother. How could she do this? How could she allow my brother to marry a woman who was carrying another man's child, all in the name of appearances? I felt sick to my stomach. The "can't wait for tomorrow" comment suddenly made chilling sense. Aunt Carol hadn't been scared for me. She had been scared of me, scared that my innocent words would somehow unravel the carefully constructed lie. I looked at the clock. The ceremony was in less than an hour. I had a choice to make. Keep silent and let my brother walk into a marriage built on a lie, or reveal the truth and potentially blow up the entire wedding, and perhaps our family forever. The weight of that decision was crushing. On one hand, protecting Mark, giving him the truth, even if it was painful. On the other hand, the devastation, the public humiliation, the anger from my mother and Mark himself. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm raging inside me. I looked at Aunt Carol, her face etched with worry and guilt. I knew she was trying to protect everyone, in her own misguided way, but I couldn't be a part of this lie. My brother deserved to know. He deserved the truth, no matter how ugly. As the family started to head out to the cars, I saw Mark in the hallway, adjusting his tie, a wide, confident smile on his face. He looked genuinely happy, blissfully unaware of the ticking time bomb he was about to marry. I couldn't let him go through with it. I walked straight up to Mark. My mother saw me, her eyes widening in alarm, but it was too late. "Mark," I said, my voice cutting through the cheerful chatter, "we need to talk, now." He looked at me, his smile faltering slightly, annoyed by the interruption. "What is it, man? Can't it wait? We're already running late." "No," I said, my voice firm. "It can't wait. It's about Sarah." His expression hardened. "What about Sarah?" My mother rushed over, her face a mask of panic. "Darling, what are you doing? Let's go." She tried to pull me away, but I stood my ground. "Mom, please, this is important." I looked Mark directly in the eye. "Sarah is pregnant, Mark," I said, the words feeling heavy on my tongue, "and it's not your baby." The effect was immediate and devastating. Mark's smile vanished. His face went ashen, then crimson with rage. He looked from me to my mother, then back to me, his eyes blazing with disbelief and fury. My mother gasped, a small, heartbroken sound, and Aunt Carol, who had rushed over, put her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The hallway fell silent. The festive atmosphere instantly shattered. All eyes were on us. Mark grabbed my arm, his grip like a vise. "What are you talking about?" he snarled, his voice low and dangerous. "Are you insane? Is this some sick joke? I knew I had to be strong." "It's not a joke, Mark. Aunt Carol knows, Mom knows," Sarah told them. He released my arm and turned to my mother, his voice trembling with a mixture of anger and anguish. "Mom, is this true? Is he lying?" My mother, her face tear streaked, could only nod slowly, her lips pressed into a thin line of despair.